No, it was an audition to appear. And the cops pulled us over for a burnout taillight, and they saw that you had a warrant for child support, threw you in jail.
Yep.
I had to take my cymbals down to a pawn shop.
Hello. Have a wonderful day. After more than 40 years with Mötley Crüe, legendary guitarist Mick Mars is suddenly embroiled in a dramatic legal battle with the band he helped found. Why would a rock icon who overcame his illness to perform on stage decide to take his bandmates to court, and what caused this close relationship to fall apart? Discover the shocking truth behind the lawsuit that rocked the rock world. You won't believe what happened. Mick Mars reveals his health. Few people know that throughout his 40-plus years with Mötley Crüe, legendary guitarist Mick Mars battled a chronic, debilitating illness that eventually forced him to make one of the most heartbreaking decisions of his life: to retire from touring. Mars first began experiencing pain in his hips when he was just 14, but it wasn't until he was 27 that he was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, a chronic form of arthritis that primarily affects the spine and hip joints. It is not only excruciatingly painful, but it also causes a gradual loss of mobility, leading to joint fusion and severe bone deformities. Mars's condition worsened over the years. His spine gradually stiffened, leading to scoliosis and reducing his height by more than 3 inches. "My hips would ache every time I turned, like someone was setting off fireworks in my bones," he described in The Dirt, 2001. The pain spread to his abdomen, making it difficult for him to breathe and making his body feel like it was falling apart. Still, Mars refused to let the disease control his life. "Fortunately, AS rarely affects my arms and legs," he said. "It means I can still play the guitar, and that's the most important thing to me." Over time, Mars's skeletal system became almost solid as a single block of stone. In a 2023 interview, he said his lower spine had completely ossified, leaving him unable to turn his head or even drive a car. The chronic pain not only left Mars exhausted, but also led to heavy painkiller abuse. In 2001, he admitted to being addicted to drugs like OxyContin, Vicodin, and Lortab. At times, he was taking up to 45 Adelphat, said today, and using alcohol to cope. A hip replacement in 2004 temporarily restored Mars's form, allowing him to continue touring for years to come. However, the irreversible, progressive nature of AS eventually caught up with him. Before the departure of Mötley Crüe's 2022 stadium tour with Def Leppard, Mars informed the band members that this would be the last time he would be able to endure such a grueling schedule. However, as the number of shows increased from 12 to 26, he continued to complete the entire schedule, despite his increasingly severe pain. On October 26, 2022, Mars officially announced his retirement from touring, but not from the band. In a subsequent legal filing, Mars emphasized that he was only stepping down from the tour, not giving up his rights as a member of Mötley Crüe. He was willing to record and perform in Las Vegas, or other permanent locations that did not require too much travel. A representative for Mars clarified that Mick will continue to be a member of the band, simply unable to cope with the long tours. The statement was initially hailed as a courageous move by the remaining member until things took a dramatic turn. Less than 24 hours after Mars's announcement, the remaining 3 members, Nikki Sixx, Vince Neil, and Tommy Lee, issued a completely different statement. They announced that Mick Mars had left the band, and announced the recruitment of John Five as his replacement guitarist for future tours. The move not only shocked fans but also left Mars feeling betrayed. He claims that the statement was a gross misrepresentation, leading him to file a lawsuit in early 2023. In the lawsuit, Mars accuses the remaining members of trying to remove him from his 25% ownership stake in the band, a position he has held for more than 4 decades. He says the move is especially egregious, given the $17.3 million revenue from the 2022 tour, money he believes he is entitled to. What started as a decision for his health has thrust Mick Mars into a legal battle with the people he once called his brother. His story is a heartbreaking testament to the price of dedication and passion, when the body can no longer keep up with the ideals of music, and relationships that seemed unbreakable suddenly fall apart. But despite Mick Mars's clear statement that he was only stepping away from touring and not quitting the band, the reaction from the remaining members of Mötley Crüe has made things more complicated. Was there a misunderstanding, or even a deliberate misinterpretation of Mars's decision? What led to this serious rift between the bandmates of more than 4 decades? The band misinterprets Mars. The misunderstanding between Mick Mars and his Mötley Crüe bandmates, quickly escalated into a public dispute that would permanently alter their 41-year relationship. What began as Mars's decision to step back from touring duties soon transformed into a complete separation that the guitarist never intended. Just 24 hours after Mars announced his retirement from touring, Mötley Crüe issued a public statement that fundamentally misrepresented his intention. Rather than acknowledging Mars's expressed desire to remain an active band member in non-touring capacities, the band's statement portrayed his departure as a complete resignation. This critical omission framed Mars's decision as a full exit rather than the limited touring retirement he had specified. The announcement notably excluded Mars's explicit clarification that he would remain available for recording, potential Las Vegas residencies, and other band activities that didn't involve the physical rigors of touring. This selective presentation of facts created immediate confusion among fans wondering what happened to Mick Mars and his future with the group. Without waiting for further discussion with Mars, the band swiftly announced guitarist John Five, formerly with Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson, as Mars's permanent replacement. The speed at which this transition occurred within the same 24-hour period as Mars's announcement suggested the decision had been contemplated before Mars made his health situation public. The introduction of John Five was presented not merely as a touring substitute, but as a full band member replacing Mars across all Mötley Crüe activities. This comprehensive replacement contradicted Mars' understanding that his role would continue in non-touring capacity. At 73, Mars found himself effectively sidelined from the band he co-founded, despite his willingness to contribute in ways that accommodated his medical condition. For Mars, the band's announcement came as a profound shock. After spending over 4 decades as Mötley Crüe's guitarist while battling ankylosing spondylitis, he suddenly found himself seemingly ejected from the group entirely. What he had intended as a practical compromise to address his deteriorating physical condition was instead treated as a complete resignation. The guitarist reportedly felt betrayed by how quickly his bandmates moved to replace him, without honoring his wishes to remain involved in the group's studio work and other less physically demanding activity. This perceived betrayal was particularly painful given Mars's decades of performing despite his chronic pain and limited mobility. The disconnect between Mars's intentions and the band's actions created an unbridgeable rift. From Mars's perspective, his bandmates had used his health struggles as an opportunity to push him out completely rather than finding accommodations that would allow his continued participation in appropriate capacity. This interpretation of events would become central to the legal battle that followed, as Mars fought to maintain his status and rights as a founding member of Mötley Crüe despite no longer touring with the band. But was this simply an unfortunate misunderstanding, or was there something more sinister going on? According to Mick Mars, it was more than a disagreement. He felt betrayed by the people he once called family. What drove Mars to make such egregious accusations? And why does he believe he was the victim of mental manipulation within the band he co-founded? Betrayal and gaslighting. Behind closed doors, the relationship between Mick Mars and his bandmates of 4 decades had deteriorated into mutual accusation. The 73-year-old guitarist's lawsuit revealed serious allegations against fellow Mötley Crüe members, painting a picture of systematic undermining that ultimately led to his departure. According to Mars's lawsuit, bassist Nicky Sixx continuously gaslighted him by claiming he had some sort of cognitive dysfunction and that his guitar playing was below standard. Mars alleged that Sixx told him he forgot chords and sometimes started playing the wrong song. These criticisms reportedly continued despite Mars' dedication to performing live through his painful condition. Conversely, Mars made startling accusations about his bandmates' performances. He claimed that Sixx did not play a single note on bass during the entire US tour, and that 100% of Sixx's bass parts were nothing but recordings. Mars further alleged that a significant portion of Neil's vocals were also pre-recorded, and that even some of Lee's drum parts were recording. Mars contends that his bandmates used his ankylosing spondylitis as a convenient excuse to remove him from the band he co-founded 40. In court documents, he alleged they attempted to throw Mars out of the band, to fire him as a director of the corporation, to fire him as an officer of the corporation, and to take away his shares of the corporation. Furthermore, Mars claims the band attempted to reduce his 25% ownership stake to just 5% of their 2023 tour proceeds, later raising the offer to 7%. I was like, no, you're not gonna take that from me. I worked too hard for this stuff. Mars stated. The guitarist's frustration is evident in his comments to Rolling Stone. When they wanted to get high and fuck everything up, I covered for them. Now they're trying to take my legacy away, my part of Mötley Crüe, my ownership of the name, the brand. How can you fire Miss Heinz from Heinz Ketchup? He owns it. Perhaps most shockingly, Mars alleges deliberate technical sabotage. I was sabotaged musically so they'd have an excuse to get rid of me and bring in another person, he claimed. Specifically, he stated that the feed of guitar into my in-ear monitor was horrible. It would break up and nobody else's seemed to break up but mine. Mars acknowledged he did occasionally play wrong chords during performances, but attributed this to technical failures rather than cognitive issues. His lawsuit states he played the wrong chords but not due to any cognitive dysfunction. He was playing live and his in-ear monitors were constantly malfunctioning, causing Mars to be unable to hear his own instrument. Six vehemently denied these allegations, calling them insanity, and stating it's heartbreaking that Mick and his representatives are lying to the fans while we were trying to protect his legacy. The bassist additionally claimed Mars couldn't play guitar properly and that he was the only person in the band on tape, directly contradicting Mars's allegations about pre-recorded performances. The increasingly bitter dispute revealed the deep fractures within a band once known for its solidarity through decades of success and controversy. Mick Mars's accusations have not only sparked controversy among fans but have also opened a whole new chapter, one in which friendships, trust and reputations are put on the line. Can the bond of more than 40 years of teamwork survive the harsh accusation? The legal battle has begun, and it has exposed deep, seemingly irreparable rifts within Mötley Crüe, deep fractures in the band. The ongoing dispute between Mick Mars and Mötley Crüe escalated to the courtroom in April 20, revealing the extent of their fractured relationship. What began as a touring retirement announcement transformed into a complex legal battle over ownership rights and financial compensation. In April 2023, Mars filed a lawsuit seeking access to Mötley Crüe's business records, after discovering attempts to remove him as a 25% shareholder in the band's various business entities. The 71-year-old guitarist alleged the band presented him with a horrifically unfair separation agreement that would reduce his touring profits from 25% to merely 5%, eventually dropping to zero for future tours. The band subsequently raised this offer to 7.5%, provided Mars surrendered his future interests in the band's companies. "I don't know why I'm being sued. I'm confused and I don't get it," Mars stated. "It's an insult to me that they're offering me that." Mötley Crüe's legal team defended their position by referencing a 2008 agreement signed by all members. According to their attorney Sasha Frid, this document stipulated that in no event shall any resigning shareholder be entitled to receive any monies attributable to live performances, tours. The band maintained that retiring from touring is resigning from the band, and claimed Mars owed them millions in advances that he did not pay back. The band's primary function is to tour and perform concerts, Frid asserted. It's clear-cut that Mick is not entitled to any more money. In January 2024, Los Angeles Superior Court Judge James C. Chalfant ruled in Mars's favor regarding document disclosure. The judge determined the band had unjustly refused to provide Mars with requested business records, forcing him to file suit. Consequently, the judge ordered Mötley Crüe to pay Mars's legal fees. The requests were not burdensome, yet Mars was compelled to file suit, and it appears plain that production would not have occurred without it, Judge Chalfant wrote. He explicitly criticized the band for initially claiming they had provided all responsive documents in November, only to deliver an additional 172 pages in December. Meanwhile, the core dispute over Mars's shareholder status remains unresolved and headed for private arbitration. Mars's attorney Ed McPherson characterized the ruling as "somebody somewhere telling these guys they can't bully Mick anymore." Do you think Mick Mars is fighting for justice, or is this just another fight for power and finances like any other band that has broken up? Who is right and who is wrong in this legal battle? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Thank you and see you in the next video.